Today is Tuesday, 18th of January 2022. I live in Hull, very close to the Hull Hospital. This is the Hull Hospital. You can see there where I live, relative to the hospital, 2 blocks more or less. And here I noticed with my RF meter today something very unusual. I usually leave my meter close to where I'm working with the laptop to see if the levels go beyond safe, which is 10. And at some point today, during the morning, this, as you can see here, reached a peak of 34,000. That's way too much. I've noticed something weird happening in the latest week, starting on Monday the 10th. For instance, a cell phone that I don't use it, that I was testing with another equipment, and I leave it off in the table there. It was totally off. It turns on automatically by itself with no human intervention. Was very weird. In the same time, I presume the same time in the morning, that was yesterday, the sound equipment turned on in, as it is now, in Bluetooth mode. And this is weird because usually we keep this equipment off all the time. We just turn it on for breakfast and after we turn off. But as you can see now, somehow during the morning turn on in Bluetooth mode, learning mode. And yesterday in the past midnight, that TV, Samsung TV, turned itself on past midnight. It was around 1 a.m. Very weird. It's some sort of interference here happening. I think it's due to the electromagnetic exposure. These pulses, these are pulses. They are very, very short in time. Sometimes it's half a second or something like that. And as I told you, I live very close to the Hull Hospital. And this website, you can see all the antennas installed in Canada. You can get information on what is going on there. So, for instance, this antenna is around 300 meters, a little more from my place. But most importantly, you can see all the telcos that have antennas there. This is a Rogers tower with Fido. And if you add all the antennas they have, this is the power, output power each antenna has. This, by the way, I think is beyond the norm. According to the standard for Canada, it should be no more than 5 watts per 5G, the low band up to 5 gigahertz, and this is already in 8.5 watts. So I think it's out of the norm. And if you add all these individual antennas, you arrive to a total watts output power of 57 watts, which is way too much. I mentioned that because as I said, I noticed these high levels of radiation starting this last week in 10th, Monday 10th, because that day, as I usually go to another home that I have in Gatineau, where my ex lived, in the golf club Tecumseh, and Rue Saint-Louis. When I was passing by that antenna, I will show you here, this antenna, I felt a strong, excuse me, a strong headache. The closer I got to the antenna, I was driving the car, this one. The closer I was coming distance, when I was here, around 200 meters antenna, I started to feel very strong headache in the back, in the right side. Same pain I feel when I am using the cell phone for more than 3 minutes. And I felt it so strongly that I accelerate the car a little bit. I have to pass more than 50 kilometers per hour there. And only when I was like 300, 400 meters here, I stopped feeling the pain in the head. Later, yesterday I discovered that this antenna, which is a massive antenna, a RAM antenna, has close to 60 or 80 antennas. I haven't taken the time to add up all the output powers of all of those. but at a simple site it seems to be more than 75 watts. I made addition visually, but you can see how many antennas they have there. And I question, who is controlling this in Canada? Telecommunications should respect the norms. The norm in Canada is no more than 5 watts per antenna. I know they will excuse saying, no, this antenna, this is my antenna, is 2 watts, 2 watts, 1 watt, 1.1 is under the norm. But if you have 20 antennas in one same place, it's the same as having a very big antenna. And 75 watts is a lot. Is 15 times above the norm, which is, by the way, very high already in Canada, as compared by the norms that we have in Italy, India, Russia, China. Here are very high the norms. So I'm very worried about this, especially because the electronic devices start to malfunction. I read in the news a couple of weeks ago that the Federal Aviation Organization in the US request to postpone the 5G deployment because interference of the 5G bands with the electronics that controls the altitude of airplanes. And I've been researching and finding that there's a long issue with this, with all the electronics that we are using currently. They are not designed to hold such a high frequencies and high powers. The PCBs start to act as antennas and produce false commands, and things start to work by itself. So this is very worrisome, and I wonder how many problems to the health this is creating. For instance, heart attacks, arrhythmias, lung condition, chronic conditions due to intoxication to radiation. So something that we need to address. Thank you.